Today in VR, the Quest 2 got a price drop. The Quest Pro got a price drop. Elsewhere, the Meta's internal presentation has been leaked, so now we kind of know what the Quest 3 is going to look like. And also, there might be a cheaper version of a Quest 3 coming out in 2024. And finally, the PlayStation VR 2 has now been out for 2 weeks. We invited our good friend PJ from the VR Verdict podcast to talk about his thoughts and to give like a 2-week review on the whole experience. All that and more, so let's talk Oculus and let's talk PlayStation as well. Let's Talk Oculus, a VR podcast, is proudly sponsored by the good folks at Patreon. If you want to support the show, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. What's up, Oculus nerds? Welcome back to Let's Talk Oculus, episode 78. I'm your host, as always, Dan from Playtest VR, and I'm joined by my co-host, Samson. How are things doing with you?
Things are doing with me quite well. Got into some VR, got back to the Bubbler VR arcade.
Nice.
Pretty good week.
Nice. And for this special mega episode, I would say, we're joined by one of the hosts from the VR Verdict podcast and a good friend of the show. PJ, welcome back for, I think you've now hit 3 times now to the Let's Talk Oculus podcast.
Mega episode.
Nice. Yeah, it's been 3 or 4. I lost count, but yeah, thanks for having me. I'm always happy to jump in and talk.
Definitely. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on the PlayStation and such, but obviously we'll keep things more Quest-centric to start. But anything you've been playing outside of the PSVR, or has it all been PSVR-centric for the last week or two?
About 90% PSVR 2. A couple games I've been testing, giving feedback that aren't out yet, and things like that. But
it's been solely PlayStation VR focus. Fair enough. Samson, What have you got going on? Quest focused, I guess.
But I got in some PC VR as well.
Nice.
Lots of walkabout this week. Played with some members of the Discord. Then I played with my friend's son this morning a bit. Mostly did some ball hunting.
Yeah.
And then we played back 9 of Bogey's Bonanza.
Nice. And then a bit of Among Us as well. I think you got in yesterday, didn't we?
Yes. We got in a few hours, I think, of Among Us. That was some good times. That update they pushed, very nice. I love all the customization options.
Yeah. What do you think, like, for the people listening at home, what were the customizations options that you really, really liked the most?
I mean, it was just a lot of the ones that the flat screen game already had, but to mention a few, vision, like how far you can see, number of tasks, you can, if who was voted off was an imposter or not, which comes into play only.
That was my favorite one. Now you have no idea, because then I realized that sometimes, say you have 2 imposters, and one goes off, and you're like, okay, there's only one imposter, but then we have this many tasks left. Let's just do this, or let's just follow this one person that we might think it is. Now that if someone gets ejected, you don't know if he was an imposter or not, so you can't really follow one real person because you think you can still probably do that, but then there could be a second one. You could be completely wrong. We were completely wrong many times where we thought it was someone, we ejected, we were like, yeah, he's ejected, but we were like, actually, do we even know if it's an imposter?
Are you talking about yourself? Because we definitely did that.
Yeah. Okay. So PJ, what happened is that we had the setting on where the crewmates could see pretty much nothing. It was like pitch black. It was a very small draw distance. Unless you're close to someone, you won't be able to see. You're like a VR table's length away for draw distance. But then the imposter could see everything. Could see absolutely everything. There's only one imposter. Anyway, so I was doing my task, minding my own business, and then I went into another room, and every single player was gathered around a dead body, just talking about him, but no one called it. No one said, "Oh, there's a dead body. Let's press the trigger button and call a meeting." They were all talking to each other over the dead body. And what I found out much later on is that they were all just saying, "Let's just pin it on Dan because he's not here. It must be him. It's not here." and I got shafted.
Yeah,
Does the draw distance thing make it a little more creepy when you can't see?
I was gonna say it turned Among Us kind of into a horror game because sometimes people would come like in, you'd be in a big room and somebody would come in. It's basically a fog of war, right? Like it's very intense.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, whoa, but you can hear much further than you can see.
It was actually kind of already had just a nice touch of creepiness to it, so I can only imagine.
It does add a little bit, especially when you're trying to run away from somebody. If you're someone just running at you and then they just disappear, they're like, oh, are they just standing there and they never went a little bit further towards me? Or are they actually gone somewhere else? I don't know. It does add a little bit of scare to it.
It's a necessity too, I think. It just makes the game a bit more challenging.
No.
I think it makes it more fair, for sure.
Yeah.
I saw you guys playing. I'm like, God, I wish I could hop in there. I have a problem. Like, I'm a planner, so like my weeks are like planned out like almost to the hour. So it's just like anytime everyone's like, "Hey, you want to go play this?" Like normally I can say yeah, but a lot of times it's like, damn it.
So I have this thing already planned. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Samson, anything else? You said you went back to Bubbler.
I will say sometimes as imposter, I forget how far how far other people can see and that they can't see me, so I'll give up too much information. That's a problem.
I did that too. I was saying I was commenting on someone who was walking funny because they were just walking in one spot. It kind of glitched out, and I was like, "Oh, look, they're walking." I was like, "Hold on, no one can see this. Only I can see this." And it's like, "Oh, who's the imposter?" But yeah, you said you went to the arcade too. You went back to Bubbler.
I did. And a couple newbies came in, and we put them in Pistol Whip. They played some. One of them had played Blade and Sorcery, so he wanted to play that. Got in a couple rhythm games. They played some Elven Assassin, and then oh god, I forget what game they finished with, but don't matter. They had a blast. They hung out for a good amount of time, and it was fun.
Nice.
Other than that, I've been seeing all the PSVR people playing Gran Turismo, and I was just like, I need to play a racing game. So I got back in F1 VR. Good time, but it just makes me want to wheel so badly. Just playing with the controller, my finger hurts from hitting the,
the brake.
Not the brake, just the gas.
Obviously, accelerating.
Yeah, because you got to be careful with it, right? You got to sometimes you can't go full throttle all the time. It's not like
not in F1. No.
I literally got a wheel today, my first one ever, and I played some with it.
Nice.
Yeah, jealous. I'd love to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
I definitely want one. I think I want a wheel more than I want PSVR. And because I need a PlayStation and the PSVR, right? So all I really need is the wheel. But I hear it's kind of difficult to set up though with the computer, kind of like
with the PC,
drivers wise, and all.
Not a plug and play. I mean,
console is nice with that, right?
Yeah,
definitely. We'll definitely talk about that. But yes, that's one of the biggest pros of the PlayStation VR is that it just works. Some people have having issues, but like most of the time, it just works, right? You don't have to worry about, can my system run this? Kayak VR, can my system even push the visuals here? Where you put it on PlayStation, it's like, yeah, of course it will work. It's on the system, right?
Though I have heard No Man's Sky better on PC than on PlayStation VR.
It all depends on your graphics card. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll definitely talk about that route.
Anyway, the last thing I got into was a little bit of Tetris Effect. I am 100% stuck on a level in normal. It's like sort of near the end, the last section. Anyway, I tried like 4 times over, and them bricks just fall way too fast. And I'm like 3 to 4 lines away from getting past that level. I don't know. I'm just gonna have to get lucky. That's how it's gonna happen.
BJ, you played that before? You played Tetris Effect?
Yep, on PC and Quest, I think I've played it.
Yeah. You ever found it too hard? I can't get past the second one. Or is it just me?
I think I think I've gotten into like the double digit levels at least, and
Mm.
I don't remember exactly where I stopped last time I played it, but I don't know how many levels there are, but I'm definitely not. I'm still in the teens, so
Yeah,
I'm
fair enough.
not sure on the number, but I've beaten it through on beginner, and I'm on normal, and there's like 5 or 6 levels left.
Mm.
Uh, that's a game I want to play on PSVR though with them head haptics.
Mm.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sure. But I haven't got
it
it
is
on
$40 though, so I would just wishlist that until it went on sale.
for sure.
yeah.
The one thing I wanted to speak about until we get into the Quest news and such is I played the Golf Plus Sawgrass update, and for those listening who are into golf, it is wicked. It is so good. Golf Plus, for people who don't know, that's you're playing a full course. It's not just like mini putt. There is a mini putt kind of version of it called Pro Putt, but you're playing full courses, and I have a golf club attachment as well, slicing a lot, but having a good
The
time.
f-
It's
the
it's
full
really worth
course
it.
is their
Their
main
main
course,
now.
so to say.
It's their
Yeah.
main part. Yeah, they've pivoted a few times, but now it's like they're full on all on. They're getting the licensing from all the PGA courses, and for those golfers out there, Sawgrass is next week. That's the tournament, the players next week, so they kind of timed it perfectly, and it's well worth it. It's really good.
How much was it? $8?
$7.99. Yeah, it was on sale. It's normally, I think a course is normally about $12, which is
Some
worth it because
people,
of how good it is. But it's $8 at the moment,
yes, so some people would call $8 $7.99.
or $7.99. Yeah. So some people are not weird about that. Like my Canadian roommate always says things exact. If I go, oh yeah, it's probably $8,
Oddball.
and he was like,
Oddball.
yeah, 7.53 actually it was, and I was like, okay,
Jiminy
so eight
Crickets. My
dollars.
God, get out of town. Get out of town.
I thought everyone. I was generalizing it. I thought the whole North America was like that, but maybe it's just my roommate. Maybe it's not even Canadians.
No, no, no. Yeah. Dude
Anyway,
sounds neurotic.
Samson, do you want to say our sponsors?
Um,
Oh yeah, go on.
Hold on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I do want to hop into Golf Plus on the PC. I feel like it's probably a little bit higher in
Res?
graphics. Yeah, and I feel like that's a game that's very beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah,
So
absolutely. It doesn't. It looks good in Quest, but it's not perfect. It stutters a bit, and you now have crowd. The crowd is there with people, and
really,
they don't look that good, but they make the noises and such. Even if you're like
yeah,
doing bad shots and gets close, you're like, yeah, let's go. This is a
yeah,
12
yeah.
shot, but like, fantastic. But it does stutter a bit, but it's like if you just focus on the mechanics and the golf, it's great. But yeah, the visuals
I
do take
mean,
a little tiny bit
even
of it.
Walkabout, even Walkabout looks better on PC. So
It does, yeah. It does, yeah. I think even for both games though, you can get away with the Quest version and still have a great time, especially if you don't know
oh,
any better.
100%.
Yeah.
Anyway, our sponsor. This week's episode is brought to you by Arc and Aid by Castello Inc. This debut shooter is a fast to pick up and play action jammed arcade shooter that has you facing down legions of enemies and giant bosses through neon lit levels packed with references from your favorite 80s action films. If you love well-crafted shooters, achievement hunting, leaderboard climbing, and taking on gnarly giant boss fights, Arcade is out now for MetaQuest 2 and Steam VR.
Arc and Aid. I forgot to correct the language there. They changed the name last second
Yeah,
to Arc
this
and
is
Aid.
Yeah.
this is true.
But thanks, Arc and Aid, to for sponsoring this from video. I haven't gone into it at all yet. PJ, have you looked at this one?
Oh my God, I've played this since early days on PC, and then they just came out of early access on PC, and they went from App Lab to the Quest Store.
Mm-hmm.
That game, I love it. Like the Quest 2, I was playing it the last couple of weeks, and it like there's no difference between that and the PC version. Like it's just solid. It runs great. It looks good. I really like that game. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
The boss fights are epic. Like
I feel like I've seen that one on side quests for a long time.
Yeah, it's been around for probably 2 years
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Nice. I'm excited to try it because I really like what it looks like, the retro kind of theme of it. And is it Like, who would you recommend this to, PJ? Would you just this one could be suitable for pretty much everyone, or more people who like that kind of retro kind of style shooting?
I think anyone would have fun with it, but
it's a single player FPS.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the graphics aside, like the mechanics, like you can shoot actual bullets coming at you, and like there's so much to do in it just with a shooter. It's really cool.
Nice. Amazing. Okay. I'll see if I can get playing this. I have so much stuff to play before
That's no problem.
Right now he's shipping another headset, but let's talk about the headsets that this kind of show is all about, the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro. There's been massive price drops. The
Huge.
The 256 gigabyte Quest 2 dropped from $499 to $429. The 128 gig stays at $399, so there's only a $29 difference. We'll talk about that in a sec. And Quest Pro drops from $1,500 to $1,000. It drops 500 smackaroons. Now, if you want to remember, back in end of Jan or start of Feb, it dropped to $1,100 for like a week in the US, and I think 2 weeks in the UK. But then it went back to $1,500. So it's kind of sad for early adopters who bought this back in November, and it's already dropped $500. And then it's kind of sad for people who bought it for $1,100 and it dropped another $100. And I would have thought they'd give like an incentive of, okay, here's, sorry that happens, whatever, but here's 5 games. Here's 5 free downloadable games, or something like that. I'm pretty sure Xbox did something similar before.
Here's $50 credit at the store. Get whatever the hell you want. Sorry.
Yeah. You don't have to give $500 credit. I understand not giving that, but $50 credit, or here's like 4 random games or something like that would be nice. But yeah, that's the big drop. PJ, what do you think about the drop?
I would say it's mainly probably like just market testing at retail a little bit, but I think this last drop to me is just like competing with PSVR 2 maybe a little bit, just keeping it somewhat
HTC as well, relevant. Right?
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Samsung, $1,000 for the Quest Pro. You tried it last week. You think it's worth $1,000 from that 15-minute tryout you did?
I probably do, seeing as the controllers are 300, so that means the headset's 700. Probably worth that. Yeah, I'd say so. And I imagine they sold a good amount when they dropped it to 1,100, which is why they dropped it to 1,000, because I can't imagine they were selling very many at 1,500.
No, that's what Buzz said. So, Buzz, the CEO, not CEO, CTO, at Meta, he did ask me anything, and he spoke about this. Didn't directly say it was probably because it wasn't doing well, kind of things, but just like PJ, he said the market testing at 1,100, they said they saw like a spike. I'm paraphrasing, but like a spike in sales at 1,100, or more boost in sales. So that's why they've gone down to that. It's interesting because I had the Quest Pro for 3 months, and $1,000 is definitely more compelling, but I feel like it's still more of a Gen 1 kind of device. So it's good for developers and such.
All right, so last week I got one of my friends a Quest 2 18 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Dude never opened it. He saw me for my birthday. He gave it back to me. So now I've got this Quest 2 like in its case, like completely sealed up. Yeah, it's completely sealed. And I'm like, all right, now do I sell that and my Quest 2 that I've been using and get $1,000 Quest Pro? Because at that point I'm only spending like, I don't know, $150. I could probably sell the two of them for $600 to $700, I imagine.
No. I don't think it's a good idea just because the Quest 3 is coming out later on, and we'll obviously talk about the leaks in a second, but I feel like you're best to... I really liked the Quest Pro when I had it. We obviously spoke about it in length when I did have it and such, but to sell your Quest 2 and such for it, I don't know. It's a better Quest 2, but the Quest 3 might be better than this, in a way with all the sets. But
I'd sell one and buy the controllers.
Well, I was about to say, PJ, you did buy the controllers separately, right? The Pro controllers. Did you ever try the Pro out, the actual headset?
I
Or
actually haven't. I'm waiting for the Quest 3. Like, it looks great, but just for what's out there and what I've already played, it just wasn't worth it. Like, the
yeah,
pass-through looks great, but that was the only real clincher for me.
yeah,
So I'm waiting for the Quest 3.
It's just
absolutely.
so much lighter, and the lenses look so much clearer.
The lenses look
Those two
phenomenal.
things,
Yeah.
and it's like those two things, it would make playing Synth Riders an extensive workout game would feel great.
Hmm.
And playing the PC games would look nicer. But yeah, I mean, I do think the Quest 3 is going to have those same lenses. So just be patient.
Apparently so.
Just be patient.
Just be patient, Samson. Or I mean, you definitely sell the one that you got, unless you want to.
So yeah, I don't know what to do with it. I'm thinking of maybe we do like a raffle on the podcast. I don't know. We can talk about this.
Oh,
We can talk about
okay,
this.
okay. We can
I
talk
don't
about
know.
that.
I
We'll
don't
talk
know.
about it, and we might
I
announce
don't
something.
know.
We'll talk about it, announce
Yeah, we'll
something.
see.
PJ, what's your experience with the controllers with the Quest 2? Do you like them? Obviously, there's not much difference in terms of they're not adding any haptics for any games yet, right? Or have you noticed anything?
No, no change there. The main reason I did that was because I was about to send my Quest 2 actual controllers in for the second time for drifting, and it was just
Right.
driving me nuts. So they came out, I grabbed them. So I'm hoping the Quest 3, they have some SKUs where you get it without the controller type thing.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, they connected very slowly. Like, it was kind of annoying to wait for them, but they
Mm,
patched that up, so it's better now.
mm.
Um, they're really
I heard
great.
that was bad.
Like, I've never lost tracking because they have, the cameras on them.
Yeah.
They're a little heavier, so if you're,
I like that though. I like
I,
that.
I
I
do
like that
too,
too.
and
Yeah.
most people don't seem to because like Xbox, I was the Duke guy,
That's
so
yeah. I like the Elite controller because of that.
yes,
It's so
yes.
heavy.
Nice.
So some people like it, most people maybe not, but just if you're working out and stuff, it's just added weight, build up
Yeah,
some
it
more.
is. I guess so. I guess so. It is. Yeah. You'll burn
I
some more.
can't
I think that's
believe
a
you like
bonus.
the Duke. You really like the Duke?
It's an
God,
OG.
I was,
I think it's a nostalgic thing more than anything. It's like
yeah,
if you never had the Duke, you would never understand the Duke kind of thing.
my hands are too small for the Duke.
I used the Duke well into after the S's and all that came out.
Yeah, that's
They
fair.
released like some sort of new Duke or some
Yeah,
sort,
they
Yeah.
re-released it.
Yeah.
It was a wired version, right? Just for the Xbox One. Well, every Xbox because it seems like all the controllers seem to work for all of them nowadays.
Yeah.
But
Anyway, moving right along, yeah.
yeah, so obviously that's more the Quest Pro, right? Quest 2 obviously had the price drop. This is my theory, and I feel like this might be the theory that everyone's saying is the reason why they dropped the 256 is because they have lots of units to kind of ship off. And I feel like when they changed from 64 to 128, most people went for that. And that's still the most popular one by far. And that 256, they have excess. Quest 3 is coming out in October. Let's ship them out. And I'm wondering if they keep the 128 on market during the Quest 3 is out, just for a lower cost alternative. Maybe bringing the price back down to the original 299 or 300, how you say, Samson?
I definitely think they're going to sell them at the same time. And I think it makes sense to sell them both, right? The only difference is 128 gigabytes, right? That's probably $30.
Yeah.
It's not that much money. And I think, yeah, they probably got too much stock. They'll be able to move more.
Mm.
And the way that Meta's been able to stay on top is by underselling, or undercutting cost.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Eating those
That's
costs to subsidize
that's
is what you're trying to say.
That's what works. That's what works. They gotta have the cheapest thing out there. And if retention isn't good, right? Like that's been discussed. So they're probably not selling as many games as they want to be selling.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not making it on the software side. They got to push that hardware.
Definitely. PJ, what can you see the world where Quest 3 comes out and they bring Quest 2 down to 299 or 250 just to have a lower cost alternative to get into VR? Or could you see them just scrapping it completely and going, okay, this is the next gen?
I think they sell them until they get rid of their stock, like you said. But do we have an idea of Quest 3? I know they're saying between 400 and 500.
So Actually, this is actually perfect. Let's
Maybe
move
5 to
on to the
700.
next. We can move on to the next part actually, because that actually brings it nicely, and that is the leak. So, this was done by The Verge. The Verge got, as obviously someone at Meta gave them the internal presentation, which kind of gives them an outline of what they want VR and AR wise all the way up to like 2027. Just focusing on the VR aspect.
Leaked.
Let's kind of go on that, what you just said there, PJ. They said the Quest 3 headset's coming later this year, which will be 2 times thinner and at least twice as powerful, and cost slightly more than the $400 Quest 2. So when I say slightly more, I want to, Zuckerberg already said 300 to 500 before. I think it's safe to say it'll either be 450 or 499, right? Replacing that 256 kind of normal entry. And they said it's also going to have a heavy focus on mixed reality. So yeah, if you think about that, PJ, in the price range, say it's going to be $500, then having a lower cost version might be ideal, right?
Yeah, I'd say they'd drop it like the 256 gig Quest 2 to like 300, 250, probably 300 range would be smart.
And they probably start pairing it with the Elite strap, because what do they need Elite straps stock for, right? Like,
exactly.
That's a good call. Well, here's another thing, though. Here's another thing. In this same leaked internal documentation or presentation, rather, is that they've reported...
Stop emphasizing that. It's ridiculous. They gave it to thousands of people, dude.
Leaked.
They gave this... Yeah.
It says that they're planning a cheap, accessible headset for 2024 as well. They say, quoting here, the goal of this headset is very simple: pack the biggest punch we can at the most attractive price point in the VR consumer market. So I'm wondering if this is going to be like a Quest 2, Quest 3 hybrid. Is it the Quest 2 with its lenses and having the Quest 3's internals or something like that, right? Is it a Quest 3 but without any mixed reality kind of features to kind of bring down the cost?
I think it never comes. I think that one gets canceled.
Yeah? What does it make you think that?
The article sort of mentions it. I don't know. The things get canceled all the time. I don't think there's really a market for it. Like
an Oculus Go kind of market is not really.
Yeah, there's no market for, like, if you're selling something that's $500, that's already the cheap, and then while you're also selling the Quest 2 probably for 300 or whatever, so then you're going to sell something that's kind of like the other one, but a little bit more expensive than the Quest 2. It just don't make sense to me, really.
Kind of confuses the market a bit, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, it's just really saturated. Like, you don't.
And it's all of them.
We need more software. God damn it! We need more software. You don't need more hardware every freaking 6 months.
I can preach that.
Yes.
Yeah, I can preach that. Other thing I was gonna say on the leaked details of the Quest 3, Smart Guardian was one thing I think that's what PSVR 2 has as well, with the way it can scan your room without actually having to do it yourself. But it's a Smart Guardian, so you can walk effortlessly through your house knowing that you can see perfectly well. You can put anchors on things like your desktop, you can take your coffee. I don't know what that means. You can stay in there much longer, essentially, is what it's saying. So it seems like just the next level of what mixed reality is. One thing that really annoyed me with the Quest Pro is that it didn't have this Smart Guardian. I feel like at this price point, it should have something like that. I shouldn't need to have to mark my desk and mark where my bed is and mark the walls of my room. And so,
what about at the $1,000 price point? Should you have to do those things?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the PSVR 2 does it all for you, right? And I feel like
but you can't walk out of from room to room.
That's true. That's another level. Okay. But at least in that one room, I wish it did. But that seems like a nice feature. And they also said the last thing is that 41 new apps and games will be shipping for Quest 3. Unsure if that would be launch or launch window kind of thing. But that's
and 40 of them are already on PSVR 2.
Yeah. And then just to echo a little bit, last thing with the actual presentation itself is what you said, Samson, has said they're struggling to keep new users engaged. They said right now we're on a 3rd year of Quest 2, and sadly the newer cohorts that are coming in, the people that brought it last Christmas, are just not as into it as the ones who brought it early. They said we need to have better at growth and retention and resurrection. We need to be better at social and actually making those things more reliable and more intuitive so people can count on it. That makes sense because the software has been kind of shitty recently. Like really.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how retention gets better because the people I know who have quests, who I used to play basically just Rec Room and walk about with every once in a while, they've had another kid or each, and they just don't pick up their quests at all. They don't, and I don't know that like a killer game is gonna necessarily get them to pick it up, but I don't know what it is gonna get it. I tried to tell one of them about the Transcend XR or Transcend VR. That's another game actually I got into. I got Game Pass again for a month for $1. And I was messing around with that because you can just play Game Pass in your screen and on your Quest, and you're in pass through. So I texted my buddy. I was like, dude, you could have something you could have a kid show on your TV, hanging out with your kid in your room, hanging out with your kids, maybe a stretch. You're in VR. But you can see your kid in black and white right there. Kids watching the thing. You can make sure your kid's okay while you're playing. It just seems ideal for that, for a parenting situation like that. But I don't know. Even that, he's not like, oh, I gotta really quickly get my Quest charged up and get that app and really try it out. So I don't know. Maybe it's just they're not that like big gamers, but they are gamers. I know they're playing some games like FIFA and WoW and here and there other games, but I don't know how to get them. I don't know how to get them into VR. And I imagine this is the type of people that like bought Quest. They were like, yeah, I love games. I'm going to buy Quest. And then it just ends up as a paperweight for them. And I don't know how to get them back in.
Samson, PJ, any thoughts on how to get people back in?
Well, I think we kind of hit on a little, more software, please, enough hardware. I think Samson's right. Like, not just games, but other apps that can be actually helpful for those scenarios. Aside from working out and those kind of apps, but there's been other apps. I try to separate myself because I'm not normal. Because if I was a normal consumer, like I try to remember, like, would I have enough games to make my headsets worth it? Because I'm normally like doing all this unreleased stuff with all these other people, so it's like, I'm always busy. But I'm like, is the normal consumer that buys 2 or 3 games a month probably not that entertained, because maybe there's just not enough out there. But
yeah, it's hard to look at that lens because I mean, all three of us in a way are not normal consumers, right? In the way we consume VR and such. So I think one for me, just from using that Quest Pro, I think that if this Quest 3 has a dock available to it, or maybe I don't know if it's going to throw one in the box, that would be great, but I'm not sure if they would do that.
So it's always ready.
So it's always ready, because that dock in Quest Pro, I found myself picking up that Quest Pro so many times just because it was on my desk already charged up, ready to go. And I just pick it up, put it on. I was like, oh, let me do a quick walkabout for 3 holes or something. It's my lunch break or whatever at work. Let me just quickly, just jump in. I don't have to get the headset out. I don't have to, make sure, oh, it's not charged. Oh, okay, that's it. I'm done, There's that barrier to, what is it? What do you say, Samson, all the time where you...
there's like friction.
There's friction, yeah. There's too many friction, and I feel like you got to minimize that as much as possible. And I think the dock on the Quest Pro is amazing because it just invites you. It's like you just want to pick it up, and that might be really helpful. I don't know. Obviously, I don't know the market research in this one, but that might be helpful. But yeah, it just needs more software, more. It's not just games. It just needs a variety of different games, but also more new apps to kind of bounce in. Is there some more maybe comedy shows that they can do on Oculus TV, which is easier to view rather than having to fish through all this random content till you find something, right? Have it something, they need to just change that UI to make something more accessible, going, okay, this
I think and make it not flat.
Yeah,
exactly.
I do think Quest 3 is a solid. I don't know how many people who already own Quest 2s are going to be like, yeah, I need to buy a Quest 3. But that form factor is, I finally feel like, where form factor needs to be for more mass adoption is the pancake lenses. Just that Quest Pro is just so much more comfortable, and I can only imagine Quest 3 is going to be just like that, if not more comfortable.
Yeah. And it's sharp as well. Those lenses are really, really sharp.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe the resolution's still not up to snuff compared to something like PlayStation VR, but it's so sharp and it looks so clear in there.
Big
And
sweet spot. Big sweet spot.
yeah, it's like you can, no matter where I put it on, it's like, okay, I'm good to go. I don't have to jiggle it around, make sure it's right. It's good to go. And once again, friction. Limit friction and make it more easier to access or find content. You know, I think there's just too much fluff on Quest 2 in terms of where everything is. Like I said, in Oculus TV, freaking know, okay, I really want to see a concert. Let me just fish through all these, random stuff. It just needs to be easier. It just needs to be more user friendly. And I think it's software. It really is software. But you're right. I think once you have a pancake lens, smaller, lighter Quest, which we'll have as a 3, it's already going to be more enticing to pick up because the Quest 2 feels old now, even though it's only 3 years. It feels like it's ready for a refresh. So, but yeah, that's kind of any further thoughts, anybody, or are we good?
No thoughts further.
Excellent. Okay, so that would do it for part 1 then. In part 2, we will go into our PSVR 2 initial review, with obviously hearing PJ's thoughts. All right, we'll catch you then.
Hey, we know public lobbies in VR games can be a bit toxic, feel a bit empty at times. That's why we created the Let's Talk Oculus Discord, a friendly community that you can join for multiplayer meetups, general VR chat, the game, and chat about VR, fitness motivation, and there's even a very impressive 3D printing channel. Join over 100 of our community members in the Let's Talk Oculus Discord for free. The link is right in the description.
All right, welcome back to part 2 with the PSVR 2 initial review. So me and PJ, we played it for like a couple of weeks now. We've had it. PJ, obviously, the people here have heard my initial thoughts. I spoke about it last week, in terms of my initial impressions. What's your like surface level impressions of the PSVR 2?
So it's been out 8 or 9 days, and I put in over 60 hours in those first 8 days, so I did my best. And I
like,
say
how many of those hours are on YouTube? Because it seems like all of them.
Probably half of them. Yeah, it's just so easy. So everything I say is with a caveat. So my normal daily headset is still my Rift CV1, just because I still love the audio. I have it set up in a way where it's just as easy to put that on as a Quest. So I have a Quest 2 and all that, but I've never tried an Index or Pico 4. So, of course, putting this brand new headset on is quite different from what I'm used to in my daily routine. So I try to keep that aside. So clarity and everything aside, I loved it. I really love it so far. I had a PSVR 1. So it's very similar in shape and form, the Halo strap and all that. It's super light. I don't think it gets too hot.
I've never felt it get hot, to be honest.
Yeah,
maybe I've not played more than an hour and a half, but I've never felt it get super hot.
Yeah. So my biggest complaint is the audio, the earbuds that it comes with. I'm surprised they sound as good as they do, but nothing breaks your immersion when you like move or something and that earbud pops out like that. That kills the experience. So,
do you use a different audio solution?
Yep. So thankfully, I have an Arctis headset that I'm wearing now, and it fits right over it. Because honestly, I bought PS5 day one. It's the first PlayStation console I've ever bought. I've owned everything else, but not like I'm a hater. It's just the one console is like, yeah, I think some good games, but but I got it because I knew PSVR 2 was coming out. And I also went backwards and bought PSVR 1, checked it out, and it was great. The controller sucked, but PSVR 2, I'm super impressed. I've been having a lot of fun. Like I said, 60 hours in the first week. That's working full-time job.
Yeah.
The controllers are
playing that.
great. Yeah, I wish I could get paid for that. The biggest thing, the kind of aside from the audio, my biggest thing, like the controllers are great, but they're huge. And I don't know, Dan, if you've had the same problem, but like any other VR controller, you can just drop and pick right back up.
Yeah.
These, like, unless I'm like looking at them, I cannot get my hand back in there. It's like wrestling, you know. Have you had that same?
Yeah, definitely, because you could easily put your hand through the other side of the hole and it feels kind of similar, and it's like, oh yeah, I've got it. And then it's like, hold on, where's the trigger and such. The only way I solved this was just to locate the trigger first, and then I realized where my hand is. But it's not just you're picking it up again. But they are huge. Like I have, do you have the charging dock as well? The controller charging dock?
I didn't have it at the start, but I had to get it.
So the controller dock is massive. It's like huge, and it's just on the side on my side table there, but it is massive, and the big round. And I don't know if they just did the controllers that way just to look out there and cool, just like the PlayStation 5 just looks different, unique. It seems like
huge.
Massive.
Also, everything about it's huge.
I know. It's just I don't know if they did that just to go, oh look, what is that? Get people go, what is that? It looks a bit odd. It's just not like Xbox where it's just a generic box. It's like, what the hell is that thing? It might look hideous. It might look great to some people, but what is it, right? And I don't know if they've done the same thing with the controllers. Like, they could have gone in a completely different way. Do you have any problems with it being like that with the orbs?
So they were great. Like, I have not had an issue with the headset at all, thankfully. But, you know, being so big, like Light Brigade, you put your hands together to pray. You have these two massive rings on your hands, so you have to really, really be careful not to slap them.
Yeah.
And then like Call of the Mountain, there's a couple of places or spots where like you wipe your face off for many reasons, and it's like punching yourself.
Yeah, I've punched myself when I've tried it, because in Call of the Mountain you have to pick up apples and eat apples to kind of regain your health. The amount of times I just bashed the apples, bashed my controller into the headset. Also, the headset is freaking huge too. It makes my face look tiny.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's as light as it is, because it looks massive.
I guess that's...
PJ, you're a little too used to those ringless controllers now, huh?
Yeah,
they make a difference though. Like I'm not sure if I mentioned last week, but the Quest Pro controls are still my favorite ones to hold. They feel nice, ergonomic, and obviously being ringless makes a big difference when you're playing a lot of these games. So going back to ring controllers, it doesn't. The Quest 2 is like, it's okay, it's fine. It's just typical. But the PlayStation VR it's so out there, with how big this orb is. So I didn't. When you bring things together and such, there is obviously a little issue.
The only other thing with the controller is, it's like depending on what you're doing, it's like 4 to 5 hour battery life, which normal people, that's fine. But like, obviously my average time's 3 hours probably. So, but that's cool. Where the PS5, like I love how it's set up. Like, you have VR games, VR controllers. Those controllers die on you. You can grab a normal controller and just play a couple of the games anyway, like Gran Turismo and a couple of the sit-down games. And it goes back to that too. Like, I come home from work. I normally work 10-hour days. Like, some days I'm not up for standing in VR, so I love having games I can sit down and play. And kind of the same thing. So you have a lot of options to where, like, if your Quest dies or one of your controllers die, like, you got to go do something else. So it's just really neat to have those kind of options, I think.
Did the dock annoy you? I've seen some people in Twitter and such get annoyed because of the placement of because they're so of an odd shape, to try and get them perfectly every single time. Did that start to annoy you, or was it okay?
It's okay. The first couple of times I was like, what the hell? Like, how does this? But now I can kind of just plop it in there and get it with a little twist.
I also realized, I think I said this last week as well, but I realized that they are magnetized ever so slightly. So if you just do it slowly, you can feel that magnetized, and you're okay. And as soon as you realize where the light is, where the little white light pulsating is, it's so subtle. But as soon as you realize where it is, you're fine. you're okay.
Yeah, the one place they chose to go subtle with.
Yeah, exactly. How did you find the haptics and the adaptive triggers?
So love them. Like the head haptics, like it's more than like because I first heard that I'm like, oh, that's cool, but is it a big deal? Trying to think. I think it was Light Brigade again. Like bullets, you can feel them whiz by your head. Like it's insane. Like and like in No Man's Sky, like if I'm taking off in my ship, like my head's like it's awesome. You feel it.
Definitely. Yeah, I realize that in Call of the Mountain it is a little subtle, but it does in Gran Turismo, for example, you go full speed against the sidewalks and you do, you just feel it. You feel it big time.
I rolled the car for the first time trying out the wheel I bought today, and I felt it
on purpose, just to see what it felt like.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Definitely. What I was gonna say, it's going to be hard for me now going to like the Quest 2, and I'm sure the Quest 3 won't have headset feedback either because I feel like it's out of its budget range. But I'll be surprised if it does. But it does. I thought it was going to be something like a gimmick and such, but it does add a lot of immersion having that feedback on the head, and it's nice. And also, have you felt like I don't know, for me, if I'm on there for like an hour and a half or something, or 2 hours, I don't feel as tired as I do if I did it with the Quest 2. And I think that's token to the airflow that there's so much space for your eyes, and they have this weird kind of rubber gasket which feels really cheap and plasticky. It's like, what the hell is this? But when you put it on, it kind of makes sense. It gives you so much space in that headset for your eyes to kind of breathe.
Yeah,
and I think that's a big difference on the Quest 2.
There's no like light bleed, right? The light bleeding is really
it's like a really thin plastic accordion if you think of it that way, and it just does a really good job smushing up on your face without causing any problems. But yeah, the Quest 2 gets really freaking hot, to where the PSVR 2 I haven't noticed anything.
Yeah, I also get very tired.
Some like it hot.
Also, like if we play something like Demio or 2 or 3 courses of Walkabout, if we're doing a long session or so, I do get like tired, or my face feels, but I don't get that with the PlayStation, which is probably why it's so large and why it's so big, is for airflow, just like the actual PS5 itself. Did you get any bugs or glitches, PJ? That because some people have talked about how their controllers are not been connecting properly, or they're getting really bad blurriness, and they just cannot find that sweet spot. Any problems like that at all?
No, zero. I thought I was having some issues day one. Eye tracking is also like, if I've never experienced it until the PSVR 2, like it's a trip. I love it for menus and all that. But I really liked how they had the eye guide, and you can just set it up and it actually like sees that your eyes are right.
Yeah.
So once I got that all set and I learned where to like place the headset on my head, I haven't had an issue, aside from obviously I have no hair. I'm a little greasy normally for a human. So that pad that kind of is at the top, it's like a soft plastic. It does slide down, so like every half hour I probably just bump it up a hair, but it doesn't like affect anything. Yeah, I'm gonna have to wear something.
A beanie. Yeah, a beanie will do you well.
You need some friction. Just put some like sandpaper or something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
But other than that, thankfully I haven't had any issues. I've been kind of shocked.
Yeah. I've been disappointed that people have had these issues. It's kind of, I've seen it before for other types of hardware. I think people had Quest Pro, similar things, where some people just had different experiences depending on their comfort level and such. And Kimberly, fan of the show, Patreon, she ended up returning her PlayStation because she had so many problems. She got the sweet spot. She got the sweet spot right eventually. But then she had so many like graphical issues and glitching, and she couldn't not see them. It's like the reprojection, I think, is what she meant, and like the ghosting So when like Aloy in Call of the Mountain comes and she's walking, you can see the ghosting and can see all three. I definitely had a little bit of ghosting with people walking, but not too much where it would impact. It's like the Miura effect. So the Miura effect is where you can see like the graininess of the lenses for people who don't know. Like I noticed that originally when I put on the headset immediately when I played Call of the Mountain, and also it took me back to PlayStation VR 1 because I remembered how it feels. It feels very similar in that aspect. But then after I'm playing for a little bit, and now that I've had it for a week and a half or so, I just don't even notice it. Like it's there, but it doesn't. I think you adapt. You just get used to it in the end, right? And
I haven't had any issues. And we were playing No Man's Sky, and they had that fractal update. So Wookie and I were playing that, and then I started having like these black spots and things were happening. I'm like, could be a graphics card issue. Thankfully, it was just the game.
Nice.
They updated it and got rid of it, but it worried me for a little bit because that was my first day. I think we played 8 hours. I had that thing on for 8 hours. Wow. We took one break, but that was like a 4 hours and then a half-hour break and then 4 hours again. So because we did the whole update.
I guess the beauty of having a wired VR headset.
How'd the controller? Oh, because you went into I gotcha.
No Man's Sky, you can play with the controller as well, right? You don't need the sense controllers, right? Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah, the controllers don't last long. Even the PS5 DualSense controller, the actual main controller, that doesn't last long either. I feel like
stinks.
This in terms of battery life,
controller lasts like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
a lot of use.
100%.
I don't know what they're doing with battery optimization. Like, I'm glad it's built in, but it's not great. It's like at least
I only use my PS5 controller plugged in to my computer. Yeah. I don't trust it's going to last long enough for my whatever game I'm playing.
No, and with the Sense controllers, I've never had this battery's low issue. I've just probably not played it long enough. I've definitely not done a 3-hour session like you, PJ, but probably an hour and a half to 2 hours. 2 hours is probably my max, and I'm like, okay, I'm good, time for dinner or something like that. But every time I do that, I take them off and I look, and my Sense control is always on the last bar, at least. So it's like, okay, maybe another playthrough like this is not good, and just put them on the charge. The controller dock is so necessary in a way because it comes with a cable. Just the one, but then you should have another one already, which came with the PS5, so 2. But yeah, the dock seems like the most necessary accessory at the moment.
Yeah, I remember that before we took that first break when we were playing No Man's Sky, the controllers died. I'm like, shit, what I do? So I plugged them all into this mobile battery thing I have. So I just had like cables everywhere. I'm like, this isn't right.
It's going back to PSVR 1 days with all the cables.
You can't use them while they're charging, correct?
You technically can.
I did.
Yeah, you can. Some people, it's like officially you can't, but for some reason you can. Some people it's been fine.
Obviously, it can't be a game where you're waving your arms around. But...
yeah. You don't want to even getting an arrow from your back from Call of the Mountain with your battery pack attached is probably not.
I think that's probably a liability thing. They're like, no, you can't, but you really can.
Probably, yeah, because they probably don't want you connecting those controllers to the PS5 and using it wired, because that's probably not the way forward. Did you with the PlayStation VR 2, in terms of the games that you've played, which ones have you played and which ones are like your favorites and which ones are meh? What you've had?
So I've played 7 or 8 games. I love Cactus Cowboy. I've played on every headset. It's free on every headset, so grab it. It's a great time.
Oh, I've never played that. No.
Skiva does not like that one.
I want to make that note of that.
So it looks great, but it's a single dev. That's all he does. But it's so fun. It's like a retro. If you grew up playing video games, it hits all the right spots. I love it. And it's free.
It looks goofy. Yeah.
It's on Quest as well, right?
Yep.
It's free on PSVR 2 as well?
I don't think it's on PSVR 1.
Or it's on, but is it free on PSVR 2?
Yes.
Okay. No,
Nice.
then you got nothing to complain about.
I didn't even know
No.
this. Yeah, I didn't even know it was on there. I never saw it on the store. Maybe I completely
I
missed
mean,
it, but
I guess if you're like just got a PSVR 2 and you're like, what's my first experience going to be? Oh, let me try this free game, and the Cactus game is your first ever VR
Yeah.
experience.
Mhm.
I could see it being you being like, oh, I just spent $550 on this. But it is I know it's a solo dev and it is a good experience. And
Yeah. I would agree if that's your first experience, you're probably questioning your life choices. But yeah, I've played. I'll just list them off, then we can talk about them or
Yeah.
whatever. Demio, Gran Turismo 7, Runner, Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy, um, Light Brigade, and Horizon Call of the Mountain were my main group.
Nice.
I originally bought my main reason to get a PSVR 2 was Call of the Mountain because, again, this is my own expectations. Like, game is amazing. Like, first, the opening, holy crap! Like that.
Oh, when you're in the boat and they have
Yeah.
they have like they have like a sack over your head, but you can kind of see through it a little bit, but you don't know. And then they lift the sack off, and then everything's so vibrant. It's a great, clever idea of what they did at the start.
I'm not digging on the game, but I'm really tired of climbing.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot of climbing, yeah.
They should have called it Climb of the Mountain, and you might have had
I mean, that's what you're
idea.
technically doing. You're climbing up this mountain.
Yeah. But I mean, everything else is great. That just kind of fatigues me. Like heights don't bother me, but that's something like I can only play for like a half hour and then I'm like just kind of tired.
Here's one thing I would notice as well is that I don't know, obviously this varies on user to user, but motion sickness has been very slim for me in the PSVR 2, and I don't know if that's just because of the refresh rate. It probably is, and how good the visuals are.
I mean, let's get you in the roller coaster game or something that's going to push you, right?
Well, the Switchback comes out in 2 weeks' time, which is the roller coaster one, so I get that. But in GT7, I didn't really have any motion sickness, to be honest. Maybe every so slight where I go, okay, this might be coming, but still not really a problem. But you're right, Call of the Mountain's more of a climb to on steroids. But
I've got a question for you both. So I hear there's a boat ride, sort of like
a Disney park.
Yeah, it's like a mini game, I guess. Have either of you taken part in this boat ride option?
Nope.
I know the game starts with the boat ride, but I think it's like a separate thing.
I've done it. I've done it. It's what's it called? I don't know what it's called, but it's a separate thing. Yeah, it's 5 minutes long, and you're in the boat ride just like the opening of the game, but it's slightly different because every single type of robotic dinosaur, I guess you'd call them, come out, and it's like a Disney ride where you're going through and things happening next to you whilst you're just on the boat, just floating across. It's cool. It's good. It's a good way to give to people, oh, this is the PSVR. I'm finding it very difficult.
That's a pretty good first experience.
It's a great first experience because you don't have to do anything. You just hold the controllers so you can feel the vibration too. But there's a lot of headset feedback. Like when I can't remember what it's called. PJ might be able to help me. But what's the big robot dinosaur called in?
Oh, the tall neck.
No, not the tall neck. So the tall neck's cool, but the one that's like a T-Rex in a way.
Oh,
do you know what?
Bad with names.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called either. But when that comes, you feel it in the rumble. And there's another one with that like breathes fire. And when that breathes fire, when you're going underneath it, it's cool. It's really cool. So it's a great showcase. And I gave it to people in the house, in my housemates. I'm like, okay, this is what it's like. Because I'm finding it hard to showcase it to people. But that is one thing that game does, which is nice. There's that little side mode. But I'd recommend it, PJ. I'd recommend just jumping. If you just want 5 minutes just to see what it's like, and then you're done.
Oh yeah, it's definitely on. I'll do that. I'm just trying to get through the game. And again, like I haven't had any type of motion sickness for ever. So like it's not that. It's just I don't know. It's just not my thing. But like. All the other parts and the graphics are amazing, and they definitely have like creative ways of helping you climb and making you climb. So I'm not knocking it at all. It just was not, and it was my own expectations, but because I just wanted the actual game in VR, obviously.
How far have you got into it? Do you know roughly of how far you're in? Because I'm
I
at
don't know.
50%. I'm like when I look at the table in our hub where you have all the different like pictures which take you to different missions. I'm like right in the middle, like halfway.
I think I'm right before that, probably 40%.
Okay, so you're not at the snowy part yet, right?
No,
It's not snowed. Okay. The reason why I said that is that this might change because I've not finished it, but it does seem like you have a little bit less climbing as the game is getting on.
that's
The
what's getting
first
me up the mountain.
Yeah, once you're up the mountain, the first 2 hours, I would say the game is a little bit slow, but you're kind of just enjoying the visuals as the
Yeah,
musical instruments like Half-Life Alyx kind of thing. Lots of interactivity, lots of climbing. There is that one point where you're climbing for almost, it feels like you're climbing for 30 minutes. You just keep going before you get one little action sequence. But
yeah,
what I've realized later on is that, and I don't know if this changes later, but it does get less climbing or there's smaller gaps. So you climb for a little bit and then there's an action sequence and such. And the
yeah.
action sequences get really good and challenging, to be
Yes,
honest.
yeah, and I think I just kind of noticed that it's like, okay, I that was only 5 minutes, not 20 minutes of climbing. But the other thing is, and I don't know if the devs, if this is their first VR game, but just the like you hit X or A and pick from a radio like what weapon you put in your hand, and it feels really weird.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you jump and go into slow mo, and once you have the pickaxes, you reach behind and pull them out.
Mm.
But it's like it's not consistent. Like it's always different button presses for things, and it's like this is VR doesn't need any of this. Why didn't we just go the normal VR route with grip buttons and stuff? It just kind of feels alien to me a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
But
I also
again,
think there's
I
an
still enjoy it, but it's not as cool as I thought it would be.
Yeah, I also think there's an issue with the grip button. I mentioned it last week where like the grip button's more of a button than an actual it doesn't feel like I'm just gripping it. It feels like I'm pressing a button, so it's not as comfortable. Which kind of brings me to the next game that you mentioned was Star Wars, and I know you're a big fan of Star Wars Tales of the
Before we
Galaxy.
get into
Oh,
that,
go on.
do you think that that boat ride should be like a free experience?
Yeah, absolutely. If that was like a five
Like
minute demo,
PlayStation should just offer that on
Yeah.
their thing as like a
for sure.
try VR. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
The thing the PlayStation VR 1 did amazing, and I'm sad that they didn't do this, is that they had the PlayStation Worlds that came with it, at least when you first bought it. I don't know if they kind of got rid of that eventually. But that was free, and it was like a demo disc, but they also had some experiences. So one was like a shark attack that you just go down and then the shark's coming at you and such. And then they also had this kitchen demo, which was one of my favorite things ever, which was a Resident Evil 7 demo, but it's just called the kitchen, and you're just sat there and you're in this kitchen, and as soon as you press X, things start to happen, right? And like this monster comes and such and kills somebody and then scares the hell out of you. But it's great. It's a great tech demo just to put someone into VR and go, okay, you don't have, there's no buttons you have to press. You just sit here.
Yeah.
And that's what the Call of the Mountain 5 minute experience things is as well. And it'd be nice if they had that as just a free downloadable content that you can just download from the store. So people who don't have it.
They have a demo section for PSVR 2, which I was happy to see. So it's like
They do.
it would be great right there.
Yeah, it'll be perfect. It'll be perfect right there. For sure. But yeah, PJ, so with Star Wars, Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, I know you've already finished that on Quest or in the PC version. Are you
3 times.
Quest, yeah, 3 times. How did you like it in PlayStation VR 2?
So, to my knowledge, they never released that on PC VR.
No,
it was
that's
only
why,
Quest
yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
on the PSVR 2, it's like a whole new game. Like the graphics, they really, really updated those graphics.
Yeah.
Not that it was bad at all, but it was just like, holy crap, this is like movie quality graphics.
I don't own the game. I just downloaded the demo because I own it on Quest 2. And I wanted to just see what it's like. And holy crap, just in the bar with the guy with the 5 eyes or whatever, the level of detail from that person is fantastic. It does feel like you're inside, maybe not the actual movie, but like an animated version, right? Like you're in the Clone Wars in a way. And it
sweet,
looks wicked. And the guns as well is my favorite. The guns for the haptics is like every gun feels a little bit different, and it's pretty nice. PJ, I mentioned this last week, but just mentioned it to you. I had an issue was when I was shooting because of how strong the haptics were, my hand started slipping down the controller a little bit. I don't know if you had the same issue. Maybe you have
No,
smaller hands or something. But
no, I didn't notice that one. I do know. I did notice on the main two-handed weapon you find a lot. Like when you
Mhm.
put both hands on it and bring it up to your eye, it's kind of like turned a little bit. So I hope they
Oh,
kind of fix that.
okay.
Other than that, yeah, that's
And you
hadn't
still
had
had
any
the same
issues.
amount of enjoyment. I was playing it the fourth time through.
Yes, I really like the game. I know a lot of people are like, it's gimmicky things, but I'm like, I legit enjoy it. It's probably in my top five easy.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah,
I've never finished it. I never finished it, but I think I'm gonna pick it up for PSVR too because it feels so good. And actually finish it. The other game I wanted to ask for you is your thoughts on GT7.
yeah. So Wookie and I have played Project Cars 2 and on PCVR and have a lot of fun on there.
Mm.
I was happy because I was only half paying attention to everything before it came out, just because I like to be surprised.
Yeah,
So I was able to grab the game at like $30 on sale like 2 weeks
nice.
before they announced the VR thing, and then they announced that. I'm like, sweet. So yeah, I really enjoy it. Even with a controller, it was a lot of fun. But obviously, I went out and bought a wheel and waiting on the little metal rigging to come to attach it all because I have this little laptop desk I use so I can just move it around, and that
Oh, you can
wheel,
put the wheel on there.
it doesn't, it works, but I could very easily tip that thing over. So,
Fair enough. Fair enough.
but yeah, I've really enjoyed it. I'll only say one thing: you boot that game up, and there's like a 20-minute intro video, and then there's an
It's
option
a slow burn. It's a
to
slow burn.
turn that off. Make sure you do that because if you don't, every time you boot that game up, you have to sit through it.
What?
Yeah, it's I don't understand
I've
that.
so last week I expressed how I don't like GT7, not the VR part. I think the VR
Slow
part's
burn.
amazing. I just don't like simulation driving games, and I've always had a problem with GT7, and the VR part doesn't rectify that. It's still the same game, right? VR stuff is great though, but I haven't been in it since, and I didn't realize. So that means when I boot it up tomorrow morning, I'll have to watch that bloody trailer on again. Oh gosh.
Yeah. I'm normally more of an arcade versus sim, but Wookie and I have fun driving around. I'm a very reckless driver, so some people don't
The
enjoy that.
haptics.
Yeah, but yeah, those cars when they slam into you because you kind of started it, you really feel it. So yeah, it's really neat.
Because you kind of started it.
Hey, I mean, I'm pretty sure they don't knock into you. This is no Mario Kart or Need for Speed,
Yeah.
but
So like on Xbox, real quick on Forza, they have
mhm,
the driver tires where it actually mimics you.
yeah.
My friends hate it. They're like, "Oh, here
Mhm.
comes PJ. He's gonna run me off the road," and my driver tire knocks right into him and
Yeah.
pushes him off.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
quite clever, right? It learns your play style and then that's who you can
Yeah.
play against. Absolutely. Have you tried, because haven't got to this part, but have you ever tried like a really fast car? Like a Formula One car or
I
a
haven't
Ferrari or
unlocked that
something
yet.
like that?
I just unlocked a Corvette that I can't. That's what I just flipped before we started here. Like I
Mm.
couldn't keep that thing on the road.
That's why I want to play GT now because all I've done is the F1 cars in the F1 game, and I'm like, these are going really fast. You can actually
Yeah.
drive a McLaren in a few other road safe cars, and driving the McLaren, I was like, this thing's really slow.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
wondering if my as soon as I finally get those cars unlocked, I feel like maybe my thoughts might change with GT7 because then I'll have more fun with it. Because I like that with Forza. There's Forza that you can just play every single car in like a quick race mode. You don't have to jump into a career or something. And I
Yeah.
wish they had the same. But
Or you need to let your roommates play it flat screen and
yeah,
unlock
like unlock it
everything.
from me and then let me
Yeah.
um PJ, any other games you wanted to speak about or
Yeah, let me just shout
no?
out to Runner real quick. I don't know if you guys have played it. It came out on Quest first, then it came out on PSVR for launch, and then it's coming out on Steam soon. So it's
It's called Runner.
Runner. Yep. It's a vintage-looking anime-styled game where you're just on a motorcycle with guns and light blades, and you're just driving on the road, blowing the shit out of things. Sorry, I don't know if I should be swearing on your podcast.
Fuck no.
But I got to like, so it's a typical like old school game, much like Arcanade, boss fights at the end, really epic things. So on the quest, I got to like level 4, and like it's hard. It's just hard enough to make you try a couple times, and then you'll get past it. And I kind of enjoy that. You got to figure out how to take down whatever enemy you're doing. So I spent hours and hours on the quest 2, and then I didn't even know it was coming on PSVR 2, so it was a shock. So I bought it even though I already had it. Again, graphics, whole nother level. Yeah, it's just the vibration of the headset. So it's great, but what they just updated it, so now anyone can play on the flat screen with a controller and actually drive the motorcycle for you, and all you have to do is shoot and stuff. I'm really pumped to try that out.
Oh, that's cool.
That game is amazing. I love the hell out of it.
Runner. Okay, that's another one. Runner and Cactus Cowboy. I got to look at.
That's pretty cool co-op option.
Yeah, I'm hoping for more of that. The only other game I'd shout out real quick is just Demio, and I know most of us love Demio, but with the PlayStation Plus, it's like $10 off. But you get the VR version, you get the flat version. It's all cross-play.
So you can play it PS5 flat.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bonkers, dude. So I can play that game now with my console friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
PS4 too, or just PS5?
Just PS5. I'm pretty sure.
Good question. I think it's just PS5 because I think it's meant for the VR, but you can have the option for flat screen. So I don't know if you can. Yeah, I don't think it will work with PlayStation 4.
And again, like Wookie and I were talking about this, like, okay, Demio came out on PC VR, it's on every headset pretty much. But then you fired up PSVR 2, and I've spent a lot of time in this game. That basement, like, it looks like a whole new game. Like, I don't know what kind of fresh coat of paint they did, but why does it
looks amazing. It looks stunning.
Why does it look better than the PC version? Like,
that's a good question. Yeah, because it shouldn't. Because I mean, it depends on your PC, of course. But like, if you have a 3090 or some of those really top graphics cards that have come out within the last 2-3 years, it still should trump it, right, on PC. But
I'm gonna be asking people questions because I'd really like to see. Again, I don't favor one headset or economy over another, but I'd love to see all these games that are coming to PSVR 2 getting this fresh coat of paint because Star Wars did too. Like, I want to see that come back to the PC side of things and get updated and bring give those people that paint, because it's incredible.
I it's interesting because sometimes I'm a little bit down on the PSVR within the last week because I still gravitate to my Quest 2 as my favorite headset to play just because it's the ease of use and it's good for social VR, and obviously it has walkabout on it. Maybe it would change when I have walkabout on PlayStation VR, but also I can play it anywhere, right? I don't have to go to the living room where in my case my housemates are there and such, and I don't have to go, okay, I'm gonna just take over the TV now, even though I could, they could technically, but it's a bit weird if I'm playing VR and they're just watching TV next to me, right? But I think I do that because I need to start remembering that the reason why people asked me before getting the PlayStation VR 2, like, why are you getting this for? What do you want it for? And I want it for high-end VR. I don't have a PC VR, and I want it for Call of the Mountain. I want it for Resident Evil. I don't really like GT7, but I want it for that type of game, right? And that's where I'd gravitate to if I want, maybe Saints and Sinners when that comes out this month too. I'd probably get it on PSVR 2 because of how good it looks and how with the headset feedback and such. That is now AAA VR is now PSVR for me, and then anything else that falls in between goes into Quest 2. If it's any multiplayer as well, probably Quest 2. Especially social multiplayer like Walkabout or Synthlighters or something like that. But PJ, where does it stack with you? Like, obviously, you said you've got your Rift already set up so beautifully that you can pick it up at any time. Maybe a difficult question right now because it's a fresh new headset, right?
Yeah, Wookie was trying to should I get one? What would you say?
Mm-hmm.
So my caveat is again, so I already had the Rift stuff running, so I have these quick hooks on the same things, so I can just pop the PSVR 2 cable up there, and it's really like nothing. So it's all kind of your situation, like play space, like you mentioned, like there's so many factors.
Mm.
If you have a PS5, I think it's a no-brainer. If you like VR, like just Demio and Star Wars, like are on that whole nother level. It's like now I want to get all those other games I already have once or twice, and it's kind of annoying.
It's annoying, right? I've been thinking, umming and ahhing whether I should buy Pistol Whip again, even though I've finished that game completely.
Yeah, I was in that same boat. I'm like, because that was what I was telling myself. I'm like, okay, you don't need any game you already have, but I'm like, Star Wars looks so goddamn good.
I mean, I just bought bought Moss Book 2, even though I own it on Quest 2. I just was like, okay,
that one I'm right on the ledge. I'm waiting to hear back from someone, but
So Skiva loves the Star Wars game.
Yeah.
On PlayStation. He was talking it up big time on Between Realities.
It's so much more immersive, I would say, on that PlayStation VR 2 that I think it just adds to the level of fun, you know. Just picking up, I mean, I just played the demo on the PSV version, but just picking up, they had this area where they just had every single gun pretty much available to you. And you can just pick up and just try it. And I was like, oh my gosh, this does feel
pretty cool.
so much different, you know, and it does feel like a different game in a way. So I can see that for sure. But
now that, you know, I can use these headphones on it, that was why I was still hanging on to my Rift, because the audio was just so good. Any other headset is like, yeah, you can get headphones and stuff like this, but it hasn't been this easy. To me, like you said earlier, like it's a console, everything's just easy. And that's what I was telling Wookie, because he doesn't play VR as much because everything's always an issue. Like drivers aren't updated, the game isn't updated. Before he was on Quest, like his sensors always gave him a hassle. This, you just literally sit down, turn on, and you're good to go. Like that's how the Quest is too, but there's other things involved. So it's all just kind of your own personal scenario, but so far, like it's probably aside from the games that aren't on it yet, I'll be playing what I can on it as much as I can. If that answers.
Absolutely. Samson, I think we had a couple questions, right?
Yeah, we do. Shall I read them? I'll chime in a little bit here. Yeah. All right, we got a question from Doc from the Discord. Who's this for? Who's this for? The PSVR 2. I have Quest 2. I don't have a PlayStation 5. Is it for me? I have a Quest 2. I do have a PS5. Is it for me? I have a PC and a Quest 2. Is it for me? Is it not for me? Who's this for?
So the PSVR 1 was the biggest install base of any headset ever, right?
So until Quest 2 kind of came around.
Did they pass it?
I don't know if they passed it. I thought they did, but I'm not sure. I can't officially say, but I thought they did, but I'm not sure.
But it's at least for those people.
Yeah. It was also out for like 8 years.
Yeah, and they had some really good bundles towards the end for sure as well, which had everything in. But I think when the PSVR first came out, it just had just the headset, and then you also had to source those controllers, which were very hard to get, and then source the camera, which was also very hard to get. And now you can, you don't have to do all that with the PlayStation.
But how many of the people who had that PSVR 1 don't have a PS5?
Well, that's the question, right? It's like, who is this for? It's for people who already own a PS5. I don't think most people will buy a PS5 and the PSVR, apart from special cases like PJ, who kind of bought it in anticipation. But I also bought it. The reason why I bought a PS5 at launch-ish, I think I bought it maybe a couple months after launch, so I could source one. But the only reason why I bought it, I didn't need to buy it. I knew I had my PlayStation was fine, but the only reason why I bought it is because of the PSVR 2. I know this is going to come out at some point. I'm going to buy this so I don't have to spend the $1,000+ all at once, which is a heavy. Like if I never had a PlayStation 5, I probably would have not got this. I would have got lots of FOMO, and I may have bought at least a PlayStation 5, but it's very, very hard for me to buy both at one point, right?
And that was my thought, because I'm like, okay, There's God of War, Spider-Man, like the list of exclusives that I've never played because I've never owned a PlayStation. So I justified it pretty easily that way, knowing PSVR 2 is coming out. But to me, most I don't know. A lot of people have a PS5, and if they haven't tried any other VR, it's just as cheap as anything else out there right now. Almost, just get it, pop it on, and check it out. And like you said, it's the AAA version of VR in some cases right now.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't have PCs, like gaming PCs. I think obviously we're in a little bubble where a lot of people who we know do have gaming PCs and gaming rigs and are like that stuff and are willing to fork out. A lot of people just want a console that just works, and that's why they buy the PS5. That's why they buy the Xbox. And I think that's for these people who want the AAA experience but don't want to deal with PC stuff. It's kind of one of the reasons why I've always hesitated buying a proper gaming PC myself, is because I do like just to plug and play with the console. And it just works. I don't have to worry about all these little bits. So
if you buy a good enough PC, it's plug and play.
Not always.
Not always. There's always there could be issues, and you got Windows updates, and then these updates have caused problems. Like that doesn't happen all the time. And I like for us, that's probably we can think like that. We can get around with it, but I think a lot of people don't want to deal with that potential hassle. And I think it's it's not even a VR thing right now. It's more of a console versus PC kind of argument that's always been on, right?
I've always had a pretty nice computer. I've been building them for a long time. I've only ever played World of Warcraft other than VR. Otherwise, I only game on consoles because I just don't like PC gaming.
Yeah, so I think it could. So when it says Suza's 4, it's definitely for people who are not into the PC space for sure. It's also definitely for people who want that AAA content. They may own a Quest and they basically me who want to go into that AAA and see what Horizon looks like and see what potentially Half-Life Alyx, if that comes out, which I'll be surprised if it doesn't, looks like, and Resident Evil 8 in all its glory, right? So that's what I would say who's this for.
So Doc, it's for people who want the console of VR.
Yeah, the console AAA experience of VR. They don't want the Nintendo Switch, which is the Quest version. They don't want to deal with the PC VR. They would be for the console version. But just to quickly add on to that, I would say that I would not recommend the PlayStation VR yet until maybe at the end of this year when they do have more of a library. I think right now it's for more people who are VR enthusiasts, because I don't think there's enough AAA content, i.e. GT7, Resident Evil 8, Horizon Call of the Mountain. I don't think there's enough of those to justify it for the casual VR.
Yeah, and in 8 months they're going to need a lot more content, because
I think they will. Apparently the PlayStation Showcase, which is out, which will be in probably May, just before E3. Yeah. No, not until May. They normally do it around E3 kind of area. That's going to showcase their fall lineup, and I will be surprised if it doesn't have a lot of VR heavy hitters coming. Even if it has modes, I can see God of War being they could do a spin-off version that will work great. Just having that axe behind you to be able to throw it and such.
As long as you're not climbing, you're fine.
I don't think you'll be climbing that one. I guess.
Oh, what's that? What's the Shadows of Colossus? Ooh, you get some killer climbing.
Or what they did really well for PlayStation VR 1 was that they added VR modes to a lot of titles, even if it was just an experience. I remember just a Spider-Man one, they added a Spider-Man experience and such. There's little added things.
Star Wars had one,
yeah. Yeah, exactly. I hope they bring back Sony Hospitality or something too, because I'd love. Yeah.
What kind of IP does Sony own? What can they bring in? What can they do first party? That's what Meta's been trying to buy up. They got Beat Saber.
So they could easily do
Beat Saber's got to come to PSVR, huh?
They could easily do an Uncharted kind of spin-off, which will probably include a lot of climbing, because they can easily do something like that. They could easily do a God of War.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, they could do VR extras to it too, where you say Spider-Man, but it's you can just you can just see things in VR or just try little bits. It doesn't have to be a full-on game, right? I'm trying to think of any other IP. I mean, The Last of Us is so hot right now. why not do a Last of Us, not a title, but why not do a Last of Us VR experience where you have, I don't know, like you can see you're in a room or something, or you like there's not spoilers for The Last of Us, but there is DLC called Left Behind, and that DLC is very non-action focused. And I'm just wondering if they could do something like that, very non-action focused, more of exploring what the world's like, in VR. So that's what I would say.
So, Doc, it is also for people who have hope for more content.
Well, that's why I'm saying you shouldn't
go on, PJ.
Sorry. I wouldn't recommend it till the end of the year.
There is one other thing that we haven't talked about, though, and this was the same on PSVR 1, but the lenses weren't what they are now. You can play any flat game with your headset on, and you can like, you know, choose your screen size, like flying around in the city of Spider-Man, like all up in your face. Pretty freaking epic.
All right, so in that Transcend app that I played on the Quest, I did try to I made the screen obscenely large, and to the point where I couldn't sit far enough away. Like I had to turn to see. I was like, "This is too much. I've gone too far. I've bitten off more than I can chew here." I had to make it smaller so I didn't have to. Because, pardon me. Hold on a second.
As he just has a coughing fit of how ridiculous
because you're on the Quest, so it's like the FOV is not the best. It's not my eyes, so I have to move it closer than where I would without my Quest. Anyway,
that's another thing, by the way. The FOV on the PlayStation VR is really good. Like really good. Like when I put my Quest 2 back on now, it feels like I got a constant vignette. Yeah, on it. And it is really good. But yeah.
And that's the best way to kind of test them, I found, is wear the new one for like 60 hours the first week, like, and then put the old ones on and see what you feel. Because I noticed that like instantly, like, oh.
Yeah.
We do have one more question from the Discord. We've got one from Dave. How do the graphics stack up to the Quest 2 and the Quest Pro to Dan?
To me, I mean, well,
PJ hasn't tried it.
PJ, you comment on the Quest 2 graphics comparison.
So, like I said, with Star Wars alone and Demio, like PSVR 2 graphics of Demio look better than the PC version by a long shot.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say they're bad on PC or Quest 2, they're just a whole nother level. I don't know. Like I said, I'm gonna go talk to them about that, but I don't know what they did, but it looks amazing. Star Wars as well. Runner, I played on Quest 2. PSVR 2 blows it out of the water. It's like, without insulting anyone or trying to, it's like Series X to a Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, it really is. I was about to say one thing on Star Wars again, as that is the first game as well where I noticed how smooth it is compared to the Quest 2 version. It just felt like I could see the refresh rate in terms of I could see that it looks a little bit different of how smooth. It's more the enemies. For some reason, they just looked much smoother as they were walking than the Quest 2 version. But for the Quest Pro, the Quest Pro is still sharper. I think that's just token to those lenses, those pancake lenses. To me, the text and such everything is just super, super sharp in the Quest Pro. And it's because the Quest Pro is meant for productivity, right? It's made for that. So it's optimized for that. But obviously resolution, the PlayStation blows it out the water. You know, you put a game on and it's just like, wow, the foveated rendering is really working wonders. It looks good. And it's funny because when you stream the game, like when PJ, you've been streaming a lot because, like you said, it's been so easy to stream. You just press the share button and you can just choose where you're going and then you're good to go. When you watch like a stream of yours, you know where you're looking because you can see where it's blurry around the screen. And it's very interesting because when you're in VR, you have no idea that it's blurry around the corner because as soon as you look there, it's rendered, right? It's so quick. Where you see it on the stream, you're like, oh, it's blurry around. It's like a vignette sometimes. When you're looking straight, you can see it's blurry around the edges. But then I guess in normal vision right now, if I'm looking at you, things are blurry around the sides too. So it kind of makes it more natural. And anyway, that was a long way to say the Quest Pro still looks sharper, but the resolution is obviously superior. And the HDR is nice.
They need Squadrons, Star Wars Squadrons, definitely.
Yes, that'd be.
They
amazing.
had that on the VR one, right? Squadrons.
And I play it on PC.
No, that was Battlefront 2 had a separate PSVR 1 only mode.
Yes, yeah, it did. I remember you could just kind of walk around, kind of. No, you had one.
You could fly a ship, I thought.
You fly a ship, yeah. It had like one game mode kind of thing. Squadrons. Squadrons is the flight one, right?
Yep,
Yes, sir.
It's all
Yeah.
flying.
Yeah, you
That
can.
game-
Yeah, you could buy
so
it
good.
for PlayStation 4, but I don't think it was available for VR 1. I'm not sure. But I wish,
Yeah.
I wish that game's in VR 2. That'd be great. It would look amazing.
There you
Yes.
go.
Just to see the ships.
Yeah. It's fun.
That game with the HOTAS, oh my god, that's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right. I think we spoke
That's
a lot.
that's all the questions, yeah.
Yeah, I think we spoke a lot about PlayStation VR. Let's talk PlayStation right here. That'll do for part 2, and part 3 we'll round off the show with games out this week and anything else. We'll see you then. Let's Talk Oculus is available on all good podcast platforms and some rubbish ones as well. If you want to see the video version, it's available on YouTube, Spotify, and even Apple Podcasts. And if you really like us and you want to throw us $1, join us on patreon.com/Let's Talk Oculus. Back to the show. All right, welcome back to part 3, talking about games out this week and anything else. Samson, do you want to start with our first game out this week?
I do. Ooh. Peaky Blinders, The King's Ransom comes out March 9th. It's 1928. Things are quiet back then. I don't know why. And you've been fleeing the firing squad for over a decade, turning to infamous crime boss Tommy Shelby for help. You become embroiled in the hunt for Winston Churchill's red box, a briefcase containing the identities of every British agent around the globe, including 007. Maybe.
I don't think he was around, but yeah.
As you're drawn deeper into England's criminal underworld, you find yourself at war once again. Enemy factions are closing in, and they all want the box for power, for money, and the chance to bring the country to its knees. Keep your wits about you as simmering tensions explode into intense action. Defeat the odds and bring back the box by order of the Peaky Blinders!
Have either of you two watched Peaky Blinders or not?
No, it's on the list, but I haven't got to it.
Yeah.
No, mate, I haven't seen it.
I've not finished watching it, but I've finished the first 3 seasons, and it is fantastic. So I would recommend. But this game says it's in between season 4 and 5. I'm not sure if that's going to give any spoilers for the actual TV series. I'm unsure, but keep that in mind. But it looks very much like there's a game on PSVR 1. I forgot what it's called. London Heist, I want to say. And it looks similar to that kind of type of title, which I'm excited for. It's not out for PSVR 1, but it is out PSVR 2 rather, but it is on obviously Quest and Pico. Are you gonna pick this up, PJ or Samson?
Probably not.
I'll check it out, but I haven't seen or heard anything on it yet. So
yeah,
it depends on what the gameplay or what's happening in game looks like.
Yeah, definitely. It's been announced like a year or so ago. It's weird because most VR titles just announce and then they're out in a couple months. But
yeah,
unless
in the show, do they walk around like and talk like gangsters, like "I'll get you, see" type of thing? Because if that is in the game, I'll play it.
Yeah, that's exactly.
They do 100. Yeah, you won't be able to understand what the hell they're talking about.
They're Birmingham, England, so they do have a thick accent, but you'll be able to understand them. There's a very understandable accent. It's just thick in the Birmingham.
Dude, you're from there.
Well, I don't understand what people from Liverpool say.
Fair.
So, yeah. Anyway, I don't know if I'll pick this one up. I'm just curious to see what reviews are. There's just too much to play. I think
I'm more interested in the other game that PJ will read.
Oh yeah, PJ, what are you? What game's coming out? What's the second game?
Are you talking about Guardians Frontline?
Yeah.
Oh, I am.
Coming out March 9th. I am so pumped for this. Let me read your script. Guardians Frontline is a sci-fi VR shooter where you wield powerful weapons. and command robot armies that help you fight off enemies in single player, co-op, and PvP game modes. It blends the action-packed gameplay of FPS shooters with elements from real-time strategy games. I'm missing all these commas. Allowing players to shoot a wide variety of weapons, but also spawn structures and units. Kill an enemy with your machine gun while you simultaneously drop a 5-ton mech straight to the battlefield.
Just don't worry about it. I butcher these comments all the time. Like sometimes I've either wrote stupid or I just can't read. It's one of those other ones. But this game's been out on App Lab for a long time. I've actually got a video on my YouTube channel that I did way back. You both excited for this one? You both gonna probably pick this one up or play?
I am so pumped. Like you said, this game's been out. It's almost 2 years to the day right now.
Mm-hmm.
They've done nothing but add to it every month, and the community is great. You can build maps and all kinds of things, so they have so much content.
Yeah.
Now that they're partnered up, and maybe able to put some more money at it, I think it's going to look really good. But even before that, like right now, buy it today because it's amazing. Like it's kind of like Halo in VR, and
it looks like Halo from the
with an RTS,
image,
like
right?
yeah, RTS mixed in.
It's like Halo meets crap. What was the name of that movie? Where you're killing bugs.
Were you killing bugs?
Yeah.
Like Men in Black bugs?
No. God damn it.
A movie?
Yeah, Starship Troopers.
Right.
Yeah. I love this game. Like it's so much fun. There's so many options. Like you can drop that mech down they talked about. You can ride in it. You can just command it. It's just neat.
It's cool because it's like tower defense in a way, right? You kind of set up before you you make the wave. It's not, it's like a tower defense, a real-time strategy, as you say, mixed in with first-person shooter. I had a bunch of fun with it when I played it, but I haven't played in it for like a year, so it's probably changed quite a lot since I did,
Yeah, they've added like drop ships, like all kinds of things, anything you'd want in a sci-fi game.
And the way you said the custom maps are cool. I've seen people put like different Star Wars kind of scenes in there and such, and it is really cool to play those. Samson, what about you? You're gonna maybe pick this one up, or definitely curious?
I'm definitely gonna pick it up. I hope to hop in it more than just like a couple nights, but we'll see. It looks sweet, and everything about it is cool, right? Like the Halo aspect, the RTS aspect. But it's just about being able to. I imagine it's a game I'll also want to play with friends. It's sort of like you can play with friends against the. You're right. It's not like just player versus player. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you have they have cross saves built in and cross play across everything. So very nice.
Nice. Excellent. Okay, so that was Guardians Frontline and Peaky Blinders: The King's Ransom, both coming out on the day of release of this podcast. PJ, thank you so much for joining us on this show, on this mega show, which was
hey, before we go.
Yeah.
I know it's been a long one. Last week I talked about Vampire Survivors. I'm pretty certain I hadn't even booted the game up of last week.
No, you said is that you watched 3 hours or 2 hours of worth of Vampire Survivors stream.
So in the last 6 nights, I've played 11.2 hours of Vampire Survivors. It's been a good one for the deck. I'm not gonna lie. I killed my deck one day for the first time. It died mid game.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty into.
I'm glad it lived up to the hype of you watching it on streamer, and it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, well, that helped me be able to get some strategy as well. But yeah, also other great news for the podcast. I've got a great sign off now.
Wait. We can bring that to later. We need to. PJ, do you have a Steam Deck, by the way? Not sure.
No, I've been on the fence.
There's only so much things you can buy, I guess.
Well, I've beta tested like Xbox streaming for like 5 years now, and it's been amazing the whole time. And like I have a Switch. I don't play things like I want a big screen. I want the full. Like I don't like playing on little. Even though there are many times like on vacation or just in a waiting room that would be nice. So I'm on the fence still. I haven't bought one.
Fair enough. And then Samson, did you pick up Hotline Miami yet? That people in the Discord were saying how good it is too.
No, I did. I added it to my wish list, though. I mean, as people know, I buy a lot of games, probably far too many. Yeah. But I will generally not buy them at full value.
Amazing. Okay, so PJ, thanks for joining us. What is happening with the VR Verdict podcast right now that you want to kind of plug? What is happening?
So we're been moving to a new platform, and it is weird because we just did our first episode in a couple weeks yesterday and went for 2 hours talking about PlayStation VR. So we're transitioning to a new platform because the one we're on, we were told unless we pay this amount, it's like 40 minutes, and I'm like, we can't have guests and try to rush them.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to do quick little episodes ourselves, but we've also been working on the new platform because Wookie does most of that. So we're transitioning. So we've been kind of coming and going and not doing a regular show. But we did a 2-hour show yesterday, and it worked as normal as intended. So now we're confused, but we're still pushing forward. So
okay,
that's why I've also been streaming more than I normally do, aside from the ease of the PSVR 2, just because, we're not doing episodes as regularly through February and March, and I'm hoping we're back in April full swing.
For more like weekly episodes like normal. Yeah.
Yep, with guests and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, nice. Yeah,
awesome.
So, I mean, you have a big library of podcasts, so if people who haven't checked out the VR Verdict podcast, definitely have a look.
I was gonna start pimping like, hey, check this one out. It was a really good chat about this.
Yeah. Or like snippets of chats for sure. Yeah, no, definitely. No, but I appreciate you coming on. It's nice to hear another person's thoughts on the PSVR too. For sure. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point this year, like we always do.
Anytime, whether it's cameraman or audio or
yeah, he's always in the background. Sometimes you are our walkabout cameraman at times too. Definitely. Samson, any things to sign off in?
Let's talk Oculus. Well, let's talk next week. Something like this. I'm getting there. It's getting there.
I think you're getting somewhere right there.
Let's talk next week, really. It's just let's talk next week. Let's talk next week.
I think let's
talk VR next week. I don't know.
I think a little bit of tweaking, a little bit of refining, and you finally got a nice sign off.
Yeah.
I love it so much. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching and listening. Next week we'll be back to, I know we've had a few episodes talking about the PSVR 2, but next week we'll be more back onto the Quest because the hype is now dying. But I might mention it a couple of times here and there.
I'm gonna keep it alive a while longer.
Okay, yeah, definitely. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next Thursday for Walkabout Upside Town. We'll be speaking a lot about that next week. Bye now.